Mistakes were made. It's Slimeball, and today I lived up to my name, but I'm going to do my best to make amends through this video. I will not try to crack jokes or make funny comparisons in this video. I'm strictly giving an unbiased review of Mobalytics. Like, subscribe, yada yada yada, all that stuff. Let's move on to what this video is really about. About a month ago, I made a very biased review of Mobalytics. If you haven't seen it, good, don't watch it. I get things wrong, and I do not give a fair review of Mobalytics. Keep in mind, I am just some asshole on the internet that you do happen to be listening to right now. But I am human, I do get things wrong, however, I do hold myself to a standard, and as I continue to make content, I want that standard to increase. When I am called out by the Mobalytics YouTube channel for getting things wrong, I must correct myself and make amends, because I was not only wrong with my information, but I was also a cynical asshole at the expense of Mobalytics. In this video, I will do my best to refrain from being that cynical asshole, and I will do my best to be as unbiased and as professional as possible. Mobalytics clearly watched the entire video as well, because they commented on the Star Wars comparison 8 minutes into a 10-minute video. I feel pretty bad about insulting a company in that way, considering I get a dislike on a video and I'm practically crying myself to sleep that night. That's not an invitation to dislike this video. I said some pretty rude things, and I feel that I did not give Mobalytics a fair analysis. Mobalytics, please consider this video my apology. I withdraw the Ray comment, as your product existed before Porofessor. Had I done a quick Google search, which I actually considered doing, I would not have made such a simple error, and I would not have made such a weak comparison. I have a revised opinion on a Star Wars character comparison, and I will reveal it later in the video. I will not be including the sequel trilogy so that I don't go on a tirade about Disney crapping out those 3 movies. If you have a guess, put it in the comments. I hope Mobalytics finds it as a respectable comparison. In order to get an unbiased review, the gameplay you are watching uses only Mobalytics, and in my previous video I said Mobalytics was good if you only had one monitor, so I shut my second off. You'll just have to take my word for it. I am a slimeball, but I am a man of my word. The biggest thing that I got wrong in the previous video was that I claimed that Mobalytics uses Overwolf. That was inaccurate. Mobalytics corrected me in the comments on the Mobalytics review video, stating that League of Legends app does not use Overwolf at all. So I was wrong in a big way, considering I said it like 3 times at 3 different points. On to an unbiased review of the app itself. Mobalytics just came out with an update for the live comparison, with a new user interface, new tabs, including recommended builds during pregame. For those of you who watched my Blitz review, I am a fan of recommended builds. The overlays have been updated, something I was overly critical on in the previous video. In-depth summoner stats are now free, and Mobalytics now supports ARAM. I hadn't even played a game with the update, but I was already excited to see these changes in action. The GPI, which I will not be sharing my own of, has also been updated to make it more user-friendly. I like the GPI breakdown because of how it can help you improve. I dislike it because he tells me the harsh truth that I suck at CS. I mean, I've known that since I started playing the game, but Mobalytics had to slap me in the face with it. I'm not saying I don't deserve it, I'm saying that ignorance is bliss. I do not want to talk about GPI all day long. I could make a video just on GPI. I will say that it has a lot of helpful information and can tell you what to focus on in order to improve your gameplay. On the home page of the Mobalytics app, it has some recommended champions to try out, as well as a ranking for difficulty level. Not sure how accurate that is, as I tried Dr. Mundo and his rework and got absolutely clobbered. But I also don't know how to play him, so I can chalk that up to user error. Mobalytics also has the top 3 meta champions per role there as well. I can agree with this assessment for the most part. I have no idea what Set is doing mid, but hey, I've also been playing less and less as I try to create more content. Paradox of the century right there. I did not know about the Mobalytics blog, talking about main roles, patch notes, terminology, etc. I have to give major props for this. I did not know this existed, and as far as I know, it is unique to Mobalytics, and that makes it stand out from the other apps, which I'm not going to mention or review in this video. This video is about Mobalytics. Mobalytics has information on the top League of Legends players by region on the homepage as well, which is pretty cool. They have a player comparison chart, which I covered in my previous video. So in theory, you can compare yourself to the best in the world if you want to destroy your self-esteem. I don't. I can feel my self-esteem dropping just at the thought of it. I'm just a guy who plays the game. I don't really claim to be good at it. Mobalytics has pretty much any information you want on your profile page, as well as stalking other people's profile pages, so you can fact check that one guy who claims to have platinum status. Moving on to champions. When it comes to champion breakdowns, Mobalytics has best runes, highest win rate, spells, items, sets, and build orders. The champions page also has best matchups and top players on the left side. I would like to see counters next to that with win rate, but if you scroll down, there are matchup reviews showing who your champion is strong against, weak against, or who your champion synergizes well with. So the information is there, you just have to go through the exhausting task of pulling your scroll wheel. If you scroll down further, there is a breakdown of your champion's skills as well as tips and tricks. This is pretty standard in-game stuff, but the tips are helpful if you have a new champion, but none of that is the best part of this screenshot we see. The featured combos are incredible. This shows you how to use your champion. It took me a long time to figure out how to use combos to my advantage in this game, and Mobalytics shows you directly how to execute attacks. None of the other apps I have used support this, and basically let you fend for yourself in-game. While Mobalytics shows you how to use the combos and explains it, only one is featured, the rest require Mobalytics Plus. So keep that in mind if you are a cheap bastard like me. There's an ARAM tab if that's your thing. It's not mine, so I'm only going to mention it exists with the same kind of info. Remember how I said I would like to see the counters on the build tabs? Counters has its own tab, as well as a guide on how to counter the champion you are looking up. It has gold deficiencies, win rates, guide advice. While it is included in Mobalytics Plus, should you choose to invest in your League of Legends gaming, there are videos on how to counter your selected champion included with Mobalytics Plus. Included in the guide section, there are strengths and weaknesses and power spike information, as well as game plans for how to play your selected champion depending on the amount of time in game. This is so much information. If you have had the time to read all of this stuff on every champion, you probably need to go outside and see the sun. If you have had the time to write all of this, you are gainfully employed, and I respect the dedication to your craft. I also need to touch on the pro builds and runes used by the masters. If you are a fan of the pro builds, good on you. I have never really spent time studying it. Maybe that's why I'm aggressively average at this game. On to the tier list. Mobalytics has a tier list for all of your meta questions, low elo, high elo, ARAM coming soon, etc. Mobalytics has tier list breakdown videos on their own channel, so I don't feel the need to really go over this in too much detail. The creators of the list can explain it better than I ever could, so I like the tier list. I will not try to dispute any of their decisions there, but I will say any champion can do well against another champion if there's a skill gap played correctly, so don't be discouraged if your main is not in the S tier at the moment. There is also an item list in the Mobalytics app. I do not believe that these are ranked in any way. I think it's sorted by price and then alphabetical, but I could be wrong. After all, I'm just some asshole on the internet. But if you are still listening to what I have to say, I haven't even gotten to the in-game overlays, so I must be doing something right. Something I need to touch on is the giveaway tab. Mobalytics has giveaways to win prizes. This is the first I've heard about it, so I cannot speak to how often they give stuff away. But I can win Riot Points, Mobalytics Plus for a year, the eye tracker thingy that they got going from Toby, even a signed T1 jersey. I'm not here to sell you on entering, I am just saying that you can win free stuff from Mobalytics. After my last video on Mobalytics, there's about a 0% chance that they let me win, so have at it, gentlemen. Before I get into the in-game stuff, I want to comment on the amount of ads in Mobalytics. There is one video and one column on the right side of the app. Sometimes there's a bar about halfway down the page if you can scroll. I talked a lot of shit about ads, but all of the cheap guys like me don't buy Mobalytics Plus. If we all did, they probably wouldn't have to run ads to make money. I am curious if Mobalytics Plus includes ads. I don't know the answer, so I won't speak to it if they do. And my comments about hot tub streamers not being legit careers still stands from the last video. On to the in-game apps. I was facing a Warwick, so I didn't really pay much attention to the abilities description. I'm a Mastery 7, so I'm pretty familiar with him, we'll say. I am also familiar with how he falls off late game, which the overlay did say. And once I had Sunfire and Bramble Vest, he couldn't touch me. I know how to build against him, so the Mobalytics build info was not really needed. But as you saw, he bullied me in the early game, and I was still ahead on gold according to the overlays. I was able to scale the overlays down so that they did not take up as much space, which I really did enjoy. I was really critical about how much space they took up in my previous video, so I am happy that I was able to figure that out. They also go transparent, which I do not recommend, as if you turn it to 0, it will be very hard to get the overlays back. All in all, I think the overlays enhanced my one screen and gave me some more information on what was happening in the game. I had a really slow start, and Mobalytics was able to show that, as well as comments on my poor CS level. I know, shocker, right? I liked that Mobalytics displayed when my teammates acquired Bramble Vest and Thornmail, as well as level 6 notifications. I do miss the minimap timers, which threw me off from my jungle routes, but Warwick kept me off the bottom jungle anyway, so it didn't really matter as much as you'd really expect. Overall, I think I judged Mobalytics way too harshly in my first review. I think that there are some things that aren't exactly perfect, but I think that there are a lot of things that you can learn from this app. So breaking it down, Mobalytics has a ton of information to give you in-app, as well as having ways to improve your game, as well as coaching, not just a statistical breakdown. This truly is through and through a trainer. Its overlays are not perfect, but the overlays do the job, as well as importing runes, spells, and builds, which I did do for this game. It does what is required to do in-game, but this app excels outside of the game when you aren't playing. Mobalytics stands apart when it comes to that. If I could revise my Star Wars comparison for Mobalytics, I'm going to give it a Master Yoda from the original trilogy because of how much knowledge it truly has about the game. I'm also not really trying to kiss ass here because, I mean, Yoda did die, if I'm not mistaken. That's right, I'm not. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. But to be fair, I'm going to also give another comparison that's not in the Star Wars franchise because I'm the one making the video. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Anyway, I'm going to go with Mobalytics is Professor X, the Sir Patrick Stewart one, not the James McAvoy. Really smart and knows basically everything, but when it comes to actual implementation and action, he gets the job done without showing off. But we all know his abilities. He could basically wrap up the plot in about 5 minutes. I have been talking for a while now. I think I made a better, more unbiased review of Mobalytics and what the app is actually capable of. I make this video to correct myself as well as offer an apology to Mobalytics for my carelessness and lack of diligence on my previous video. I hope that this gives viewers a better idea of what the app as a whole and helps viewers learn more through Mobalytics. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments below. As the last video proved, I am not perfect, so let me know what you think below. Insert your own generic YouTube outro that you are all sick of hearing in every video ever. I'm out.